The Derby of Italy. Derby of Italy, or otherwise Derby d'Italia, is the name of the football rivalry between Juventus and Inter Milan, and we have one coming up this Sunday, 26th of November, 2023. And just like the past games, it's pretty sure that we're in for another intense competition. This is one of those games that you definitely don't want to miss as a football lover, as two of the largest teams in Italy get involved in a face-off. As most people might not already know, this game has its roots as far back as the 20th century and has been on ever since. Delving into a little historical background on the game will help make things a lot simpler. First off, this game is birthed in the coming together of two major cities in Italy. Juventus was founded in 1897 in Turin, while Inter Milan was founded in 1908 in Milan. And these regional differences seem to be the sources of some of the ups and downs that come later in the history of the game. The two clubs first met in 1909, and their rivalry quickly became one of the most important in Italian football, with some really significant happenings. In the early years, Juventus was the dominant club, winning 9 league titles between 1905 and 1926. However, Inter began to challenge Juventus in the 30s, winning 5 league titles in the decade. The rivalry between the two clubs intensified in the 50s and 60s as Juventus and Inter became the two most successful clubs in Italy. During this period, the two clubs won a total of 13 league titles, with Juventus winning 7 and Inter winning 6. The 80s and 90s saw a period of dominance for Juventus as they won 9 consecutive league titles. However, Inter made a comeback in the 2000s, winning 5 league titles in the decade. The factors that influenced a club like Juventus to be at the top in this game sometimes went beyond the effort and skills they displayed on the pitch. We will look at one of these factors later in this video, which led to the club being stripped of its title at some point. Before we go into all that, let's look at one of the major factors that elevated the competition to the level it is now, being a kind of national symbol. The competition wasn't always known as the Derby d'Italia, or Derby of Italy when translated, until Gianni Barrera used the term while making one of his commentaries in 1967, and the name has stuck ever since. And in case you're wondering what the game was called before the term Derby d'Italia, the match between Juventus and Inter Milan was simply referred to as the Juventus vs. Inter, or Inter vs. Juventus match. There was no specific name for the rivalry as it was not yet considered to be of a national significance. But as names do have a way of turning things around and adding more meaning, the use of the term Derby d'Italia by Gianni Barrera helped to elevate the rivalry to a new level. It provided the game with a unique identity. It suggested that the match was more than just a clash between two clubs. It was a symbol of the rivalry between the two major regions of Italy, which are the North and South. The term quickly caught on, and it's now the universally used name for the match between Juventus and Inter. That's why the name Gianni Barrera will forever remain significant in the history of the game, as the identity is tied to him. As long as this game has existed, it has a pretty bumpy history, with some serious rivalry that went beyond the pitch to include some fouls in the level of management for the teams involved. This will be the point we talk about the events that led to Juventus being stripped of their title. This search takes us to one of the biggest scandals in the history of football, known as the Calciopoli scandal. This was a major sports corruption scandal in Italy, involving the manipulation of football matches by some people at the top of management of some major clubs like Juventus, AC Milan, Fiorentina, Lazio, and Regina. No one is sure how long such a thing was on, but the scandal came to light in 2006, and it led to the relegation of Juventus to Series B, the revocation of 2 of their Series A titles, and the banning of several individuals from football, which included a life ban from football. The really crazy time was for football in Italy. As to what the exact nature of the scandal was, it came to light as a result of a police investigation into illegal wiretapping. The investigation revealed that Lucio Moggi, the general manager of Juventus, had been in regular contact with Pierluigi Pareto, the head of the Italian Referees Association. You might be getting the exact picture of what might have transpired at this point. Moggi was alleged to have pressured Pareto to appoint certain referees for Juventus matches and to have influenced the decisions of those referees. Basically, they break the game in favor of their teams. The investigation also uncovered evidence that other clubs were involved in similar schemes. AC Milan, Fiorentina, Lazio, and Regina were all found to have improper relationships with referees. Must have been a really bad feeling for the opponents who might have unjustly denied some of their victories. Wasn't able to get how exactly influencing the decisions of these referees helped Juventus, but it did in some way. As a result of the scandal, Juventus were stripped of their Series A title in 2005 and 2006, and they were relegated to Series B for the 06-07 season. Moggi was banned from football for life, and several other individuals were also given bans. Good riddance, if we're to say. The Calciopoli scandal was a major blow to Italian football, and it damaged the reputation of the sport both domestically and internationally. Fans had to begin questioning some decisions, but luckily this hasn't damaged the fun and thrill that comes with the game. However, the scandal had also led to several reforms of Italian football, aimed at preventing future corruption. This event, however, wasn't the first time Juventus was caught in the middle of something. The first was a disruption of the game in 1967 by aggrieved fans as they were losing to Inter Milan. The field invasion by Juventus fans in 1967 was one of the most significant events in the history of the Derby d'Italia. The match was taking place at the Stadio Comunale in Turin, and it happened to be one of the games where Inter Milan was leading 2-0, even as the game had gone deep into the second half. Something really unexpected followed this realization that Juventus was certainly losing in that competition. With just a few minutes remaining, Juventus fans invaded the pitch and began to attack the Inter players and officials. The referee was forced to abandon the match, and Inter Milan was awarded a 2-0 victory. However, the Italian Football Federation later overturned the decision in order to replay. One might not be totally wrong to think that the team Juventus had really sore losers on both the side of the fans and the management of this team. However, in protest of the replay order, Inter Milan fielded their youth team for the replay, and they were thrashed 9-1. The field invasion was a turning point in the rivalry between Juventus and Inter Milan. It intensified the animosity between the two clubs, and it led to increased security measures at the Derby d'Italia matches. The uncertainty was whether the friction was a result of a larger regional squabble, seeing as the teams were representing regions within Italy, or just something that came with the game. The event also had a wider impact on Italian football. It highlighted the problems of hooliganism in the sport, and it led to calls for reforms of the Italian football system. The field invasion of 1967 remains a controversial event, but maybe if we don't read much meaning into it, it might be a reminder of the passion and intensity of the Derby d'Italia. So far, it's proven to be a match that's always full of drama, and it's sure to continue to be one of the most important matches in Italian football for many years to come. Having all these in mind, the upcoming Derby d'Italia between Inter Milan and Juventus, which is scheduled to take place on November 26, 2023 at the Allianz Stadium in Turin, seems a lot more promising and might just be as interesting as the previous encounters. Though we hope that no team takes undue advantage over the other in any way. From the look of things, both teams are currently in good form, with Inter Milan leading Series A by 2 points. However, Juventus has a strong record against Inter Milan in recent matches, winning 4 of their last 5 encounters. According to projections by enthusiasts, Juventus will be playing at home, which could give them a significant advantage. There have been talks that the Allianz Stadium is a notorious difficult venue for away teams to play at, and Juventus has a strong record of winning at home. There's nothing, however, as unpredictable as the football game. Whatever we think now is just based purely on speculation, and things might just turn out great for the other team. Just grab your beer and get ready for the game this Sunday, the 26th of November at 19:45 UK time. Don't miss out on the most exciting game. Maybe after the match we'll bring you some highlights of the game. May the best one win.